When we hear the word narcissist, what comes to mind? It's probably the swaggering, toxic man whose bravado controls the room. Or we think of the serial cheater who's in a so-called relationship, but secretly has profiles on several dating apps. Though this trope is popular, is it fair? Are all narcissists male? And if that's not true, then why isn't there more talk about the female narcissist? In this video, I'm going to challenge the common stereotype of the male narcissist by taking a closer look at why the female narcissist is often overlooked. I'm going to teach you how to recognize the signs that you've met an equally dangerous personality type so that you can protect yourself better by avoiding this type of woman as a possible romantic partner or friend. Hi, I'm Dr. Kerry Kerr McAvoy, a mental health specialist with over 20 years of counseling experience, and I'm also a narcissistic abuse survivor. If you'd like to hear my story, please check out the first episode in this series called How Love Nearly Cost Me My Life, or read my book. It's a raw graphic look at narcissistic abuse, and it's called Love You More, The Harrowing Tale of Lies, Sex Addiction, and Double Cross. If you're new to this channel or series, this is the sixth in a year-long called Toxic Love. Come back each week as I break down a pathological love relationship from start to finish. Let's take a closer look at what goes wrong, the controversial and uncomfortable stuff. And if you stick around to the end, I'm going to share with you the female narcissist's favorite manipulative ploy and how to avoid it. Have you hit the like button by now? Be sure to subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so that you're sure to catch my upcoming lives and the latest episodes of this series called Toxic Love. According to a recent large study, roughly a third or more of those with narcissistic personality disorder are female. So why don't we hear more about these toxic women? All you have to do is drop into any social media live on narcissistic abuse and you'll hear plenty of stories describing narcissistic mothers. Yet many seem reluctant to share their experience of a narcissistic female partner or friend. Why is that? Especially when research shows that there's only small differences in how narcissism manifests in women versus men. If you're interested in the sources that I used for this video, be sure to check out the links in the notes below. There are a couple reasons why I think this discrepancy is mainstream. It is that we struggle to acknowledge women as narcissists because of socialization. Narcissistic women, just like their male counterparts, are as exploitive and do a lot of harm to others. They have the same preoccupation with getting ahead and behaving competitively with their partners, peers, and children. And they view the world with an intensely jealous perspective. There are, though, a few critical differences between male and female narcissists. Narcissistic women tend to lead with their sexuality or seductive charm, rather than the overblown self-confidence. And they more readily play the damsel in distress card when meeting a romantic interest. When it comes to picking out friends, they make sure they're the best, the prettiest, or the most popular. And they ruthlessly control their social group through gossip and pettiness. They are the queen bee of the mean girls, and only those that they approve are included in their circle, and they manage these members' lives with bossy intimidation.
Don't be fooled, because she may seem like your typical selfish, backstabbing, faced hoe bag, but in reality, she is so much more than that.
She's the queen bee, the star. Those other two are just her little workers.
So why do we fail to spot these women as often as we do their male narcissists, despite the number of us who complain about toxic moms? I believe there are three cultural biases that blind us from seeing this toxic group. First, narcissistic women hide behind femininity. We mistakenly think their preoccupation with the physical appearance is normal, leading us to overlook troubling signs of extravagant spending on beauty services and products. We ignore their obsessive concern with social status, writing it off as typical female behavior. And we brush off their manipulative use of feminine charms as something cute or sexy. Second, it's assumed these women's desire for a so-called high-value relationship is normal, But this assumption leads us to miss the oddly distorted belief of some's entitlement to rub shoulders only with the best. In the narcissistic woman's mind, she's a catch, a 10 out of a 10, and she's owed a partner or friends of similar caliber, not because of their uniqueness, but because of her specialness. And we miss spotting the narcissistic symptom of overblown arrogance. And finally, female narcissist partners and exes are often reluctant to share the private details of these abusive relationships. We hold men to a different standard. They're supposed to be strong, not vulnerable, the head of the house, not the one being disempowered. Real men don't get hurt. And these prejudices make it nearly impossible for them to share incidences of abuse, whether it's emotional, physical, sexual, or spiritual. Prejudicial bias stifles narcissistically abused partners from sharing stories of horrible atrocities suffered at the hands of a female partner. For more evidence of this, just look at the treatment we give them on social media when a brave few steps forward. I've seen the public pile on, stigmatizing these men further. So, how can we get better at recognizing this toxic group? Don't assume that someone's gender offers protection against emotional harm. Women can be just as narcissistic as men. Learn to spot the feminine forms of egocentricity, entitlement, and exploitation. Distrust any persistent pattern of feigned incompetence, helplessness, or looking for pity. These could be ploys to garner sympathy and support. If you see buttering up, fawning, or seductive charms, they're always tactics of emotional manipulation. Just because the person doing it is a woman doesn't make it okay or acceptable. So, what is the female narcissist's favorite manipulative tactic? It's guilt. They use a feminized version of this emotion to control those around them. We've all heard narcissistic women say things like, "Oh, you wouldn't leave it like this when you're scared. How can you do this to me?" Or, "Are you really doing that and hurting their feelings? Only ungrateful children treat their mothers that way. After all they've done for you, how could you do something like this?" You recognize any of those? Guilt is a narcissistic woman's favorite way to exploit her loved ones. How do we avoid it? By getting better at recognizing it so that it doesn't have control over us. There are probably many more narcissistic women than we're aware of. They hide well behind their feminine wiles to avoid detection, yet the damage they do is as severe. The problem is, most of us are bad at spotting them. That's why knowledge is power. Learning to recognize that we've met egocentricity, whether it's an obsession with social status, physical appearance, or having the right relationships, is the first step to identifying toxicity in all its form. Have you met a female narcissist, and what was that experience like? I'd love to hear your theory on why you think we don't talk more about female narcissists. Drop me a comment and let me know. Have you liked this video or subscribed to this channel? If this discussion was helpful, be sure to do that now and turn on notifications so you know when my next video drops. If you enjoyed this topic, then you're going to love last week's on the power of love bombing. Check it out. Let me know what you think. And come back next week when I explore why victims overlook the initial danger signs that they're getting into a narcissistic relationship.